Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Council of Clubs meeting for October 21st, 2023. We are excited to have you all here with us. This month, I'm having some bandwidth issues, so you probably won't see me on camera as much, but I am going to share my screen and we are going to get started. So with that, let's share. Okay. The agenda for today, we are going to welcome our new presidents, do our announcements, get updates from CADEM about endorsements and conventions. We will then be dealing with how to recharter, super important. November 15th is the deadline. We'll then be dealing with proposed bylaw amendment. For that, we're going to have a vote about whether we wish that SDCDP, that's going to be a bylaw amendment suggestion, inform the clubs about upcoming endorsements with more time. And for that, we will need you to, we will need to know who's the official representative from each club, because only one person from each club may vote. So if you are the club rep today for your club, put comma the name of your club after your name. If you are not the club rep for today for your club, please put comma guest. And then we're going to be doing some best practices, how and why to prevent club stacking, and positive and productive club communications, updates on our priority special election races, running for central committee, and suggesting speakers for a Democratic club. Okay, so first up on our agenda is new clubs and presidents. Is there anyone here today that is a new president or a new club? If you'd like to introduce yourself, if we have any new clubs or new club presidents, please raise your hand. And you have the ability to unmute yourself. So are there any new club presidents on the line today?
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Patrick Rio from the East County Dems. We had our elections Thursday, and so Mohammed Rahimi, who's on, but I think it's just on audio today and listening, is our new club president. So I am the club vice president. So I'll be still the voting representative for today, as he's just going to be listening and kind of observing, but he's delegated to me any voting.
Wonderful. Okay, well, welcome to Mohammed and the East County Democratic Club. Okay. Anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, hearing none, we're on to elected officials and party leader announcements. So are there any elected officials or party leaders that would like to make an announcement? Andrea, we're going to get to your announcements very soon. So is there any elected officials or party leaders? Feel free to raise your hand now.
Kate Bishop just joined. We can wait just a sec for her to get synced up.
Okay. We're not, unless she has an announcement to make, I think we can move on here. Oh, Greg Robinson, yes.
Yeah, hi. Just an announcement for my club. We're having a panel discussion on November 5th, in which we're looking at the impact of the series of strikes that have taken place across the country, with particular focus on the UAW strike, with the country's foremost labor historian, Nelson Lichtenstein from UC Santa Barbara. And with your permission, I'll put the link for that, November 5th at 2 p.m. on Zoom. It's a wide-ranging discussion also with leadership of labor here in San Diego and also nationwide, particularly our leader here in the Labor Council, Bridget Browning. So with your permission, I'll put that in the that link in the chat, and then I'll share it.
Please put that link in the chat. We were going to have club announcements at the end.
Oh,
you know, clubs the line.
Sorry.
So I didn't want to cut you off or be rude. I think that's all the club announcements that we're going to take at this time. The rest of club announcements are at the end. So, okay, the club development committee. There's myself and clubs. For your regional club development representative, you are in one of these regions, and you have a question, feel free to reach out to any of these people with questions. I should include their emails here. I'll get their permission. Club dev reps. The wonderful club dev reps help me to chair these meetings and do all the stuff that we try to do to support our clubs. So under the next upcoming endorsement activity, we have Michelle or Deb line. Okay. I was unable to send Michelle the link myself yesterday. I didn't hear back if anyone else was able to do that. I'm going to circle back to this when she has joined. I'll go through it quickly. But if someone wouldn't mind texting Michelle the direct link to access today's meeting, that would be much appreciated, because due to some technical issues, I'm able to do that today. I was not able to do that yesterday. So
I'll do it right now.
thank you so much, Kira. Very much appreciated. Anna, okay, your hand was raised as well. Okay, great. So with that in mind, on to our next slide. Okay, as I just said, we have two regional directors for the California Democratic Party, Deborah Cunningham-Skernick and Michelle Krug. Deborah represents the assembly districts in North San Diego County, and Michelle Krug, the assembly districts in Central and South San Diego County. Now, Michelle is holding a pre-endorsement meeting for her region tomorrow, Monday, October 22nd at 4 p.m. Now, your pre-endorsement ballots are due today. I've sent that message out to all of the clubs. If you are a voting member, either your club or in some other capacity, you should have received a ballot in your email. You need to have those turned in by today at noon. So you have a little less than 2 hours to do that. So reach out to them immediately if you have not received your ballot and you think you can. Now, if you are not able to get your ballot submitted by, you have an opportunity to do later at the convention. You have not lost your chance to vote, but it will influence your ability to get your vote in or in a timely fashion. And hopefully Michelle and Deborah can speak more to that ballot process. Kate, your hand is raised. You're recognized.
Yes, thank you. This only applies if you can actually vote, right? Aren't most of us, unless you vote for 79 or 39? Okay, thank you.
That is correct. In many regions, there are very few votes to be had. I'm in the 77th, and the only election on my ballot was for Senate District 39, and the options there were are endorsed, well, not yet endorsed, our Democratic candidate Akilah Weber, or no endorsement. In some regions that aren't part of Senate 39 and aren't part of the 76 and aren't part of, I feel like there's one more. There's two assembly districts, the 79. 79th. If you're not a part of those, there is nothing for you to vote on at this time. We didn't have a lot of contested races. So, okay. The convention will be coming up October 16th through 19th. Registration is now open. Pre-registration closes on Tuesday, October 24th. After that, you have to register in person at the convention. So get pre-registration. You don't want to stand in that really long line. Some of us are not going to be able to make the convention. And when I some of us, I specifically also mean me. I am looking for a proxy to go to the convention, and I need to have that proxy by Tuesday, October 24th. So if someone would like to be my proxy, please send me an email. I would love to have you as my proxy, as long as you're willing to vote the manner in which I ask you to. Their proxy form and instructions are found here. So if anyone else needs a proxy, that is how you take care of it. I've put all this in the email that I've sent to the clubs as well. All this information is included. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Andrea Duran, who will speak about our convention, our local San Diego County Democratic Convention. I was just speaking about the California Democratic Convention. So Andrea, I'm turning the mic over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Sonaro, would it be all right with you if I share my screen?
Absolutely. Let me make you a co-host. I should have done that.
I believe
immediately.
Okay.
Let me see. There we go. Wonderful. Please share your screen.
Here we go. All right, so I'd like to first talk about our Democratic Convention that's coming up next Saturday. And I was just taking a look at the participants here, and I have seen a couple of tickets come through for some of you, but not all of you. So I hope that after learning a little bit more about what we'll be having this year, that you will join us, because we have a pretty packed schedule. We've got a lot going on. So it's next Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. and you can get your tickets at sddemconvention.org. I can also add the link in the chat. In the morning, we will be having registration and continental breakfast. So anybody who purchases a general admission ticket will get continental breakfast included. And then in the morning general session, we will hear from a lot of elected officials, including Secretary Shirley Weber. We will be having Congresswoman Barbara Lee, who's also running for U.S. Senate. So this is a special treat because we'll get to hear about her plans for the Senate. And then we'll also hear from Congressman Juan Vargas, Senator Kathleen Blakespear, CADEM Party Chair Rusty Hicks, and a lot more. I couldn't include everybody here, but that's just for the morning general session. After that, we will move into breakout sessions. From 11 to 12 p.m., we'll have our first breakout session, which includes community voices in public art. We're really excited to include this year. Also, we'll be having a session on making schools inclusive and safe. And actually, one of the participants today here will be on that panel, and that is Trustee Kate Bishop. So we're excited to have her on that one. We'll be having another session about addressing conflict in DEM spaces, since that has been such an issue, particularly in the last couple of years. And so we really want to address this. And then, of course, the very important issues around environmental justice. And then in the afternoon breakout sessions from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m., we will have a session on labor in the age of AI. This one's going to be really exciting, especially since, so many people don't know what that's going to look like and what are our policies going to look like moving forward. Innovations in housing policy, another really important subject. Joining a local board or commission to get more Democrats involved. We're going to hear from some people that are on boards and people who are staffing, that, so that we can figure out how do we get more Democrats into these local boards and commissions. And then another session on lessons from the maturing cannabis story, which just, continues to evolve. So after that general session, we will have the afternoon general session, and that includes Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs, Assemblymember Chris Ward, and again, many more elected officials and candidates that are going to be running for 2024. So if you want to hear from some of the candidates that are coming up, maybe some that you haven't met before, this would be a really good opportunity for you to hear from them. So that's included in the general admission. At the end, we're going to have a wrap-up reception. We're going to have live jazz music. We're going to have some bites to eat. We're also going to be hosting wine. And of course, there's going to be a cash bar as well. And this year, we're actually getting access to the museum at the California Center for the Arts, which includes a Frida Kahlo exhibit. So you're actually getting a ton with just the general admission ticket. For those of you that would also like to join us for the plated luncheon, that's going to be an additional cost, but that's going to feature Senate President Pro Tem Toni Atkins. So this is going to be a little bit more of an intimate talk with her, and we're excited to have her for that. That's from 12:15 to 1:15. So that is an additional cost to the general admission ticket. But here is the breakdown of the cost. So the general registration is $70, but like you see, you actually get a ton for that. If you just want to hear from Pro Tem Toni Atkins, you could purchase just a luncheon only ticket, and that's $75. But if you want to, join us for the entire day, that's going to be the all-inclusive admission ticket for $135. And this year we are having a special student ticket for just $15, and that's going to be include all of the general registration, just not the luncheon, but students can attend for $15. So we were able to secure some of our sponsors to donate some funds towards that so that students could come at that really, really low cost. So please get your tickets today because we are filling up. We only have one more week left. And I would also really, really appreciate if you would share this information with your clubs because I haven't seen a ton of like club tickets come through. So please promote this to your clubs. We want to have everybody hear from our elected officials, hear from the candidates that are running, get excited about the 2024 election. If you've got questions, please feel free to email me. You can find everything here on stdemconvention.org. But if you have any other questions, I'm happy to help you out. Are there any questions around any of that? No. All right. So I'm actually now going to move on to rechartering. And I really want to kind of open this up to questions because I know that some people might have different circumstances. It's the same process that we do every year, but a lot of questions always arise. I know that it's a little bit of a long process, but we've really tried to synthesize everything in the chartering form and make it a little bit clearer. But it's the same questions that we've been asking you. Narima, I see your hand up. All right, I will take your question in a minute. I'm just going to go over what these items are, and then I will open it up for questions. So the chartering form, everybody has to fill out this chartering form. At the very beginning of this chartering form, we're going to be asking you if you are the club president who is filling out this form, because that's going to change the form up a little bit and the questions. If you are the club president that's filling this out, sometimes there is somebody else other than the club president filling it out. And we do need some specific information from the club president. So if the club president can do it, it might actually make the process easier for you and, the next steps. So if the club president can do that, that would be great. The club dues are the same. They have not changed. They're $48. And then we are asking everybody to download the roster template and to send us their roster in this template. If you send us a roster that's not in this template, we are going to be sending it back to you because it actually takes us a really long time to combine everything when it's not in this template. And we do need, every club has to have 20 unique members. And so this template actually helps us in our process to figure out if we don't have a club that doesn't have those 20 unique members. So it makes it a lot harder for us when you send us a roster that's not in this template. So we're really, really begging for you to send us the roster in this template. And another thing that I wanted to point out actually is that sometimes clubs are sending us the exact same roster that they have in like the previous 2 or 3 years. We really would like for you to talk to all your club members and see if their contact information has changed. You should be asking that, at least once a year, because sometimes people move or their phone numbers change or their emails change. And when we don't have the correct information, then when we send out information, that's not getting to the club members. And then, if we need to call them, for whatever reason, or there's opportunities that arise, we have the wrong information. And so that happens pretty often, is that we're seeing people just submit the same rosters over and over. So we'd really like for you to talk to your members and say, hey, maybe share that club roster with the members and say, take a look at this. If this information is wrong here, please update it so that the club can have the correct information for their members and the party can have the correct information for all of our club members. And then the last part is the member form. So each club has the ability to have somebody represent them in the area meetings, right? Sometimes that associate member is the club president, and sometimes that is somebody else within the club. It doesn't matter to us who that is, but we do need to receive a member form. So additionally, to the club charter form, there is a member form. That member form allows this person to become part of our central committee. So if we don't receive this additional member form, this person is not going to get credentialed. So we have a lot of issues come up that people are like, oh, we designated our associate. How come we don't see that associate on, the central committee? And it's like, well, did you fill out a member form for that associate? So the way that we made this a little bit easier this year, if the club president is the one that's going to be the associate, you fill out the club charter form, and that's just going to feed into our member form. So the president will not need to submit an additional member form. But if the president is not going to be the associate, then we still need that associate to fill out a member form additionally. Okay, so if you're not sure whether you or your associate need to fill out a member form, please ask us, because many times they haven't filled out the member form and then they're not able to get credentialed until we receive it. Once we receive the form, if we receive it by the deadline, November 15th, they're going to get credentialed and they're going to be able to continue as the associate member. If we don't receive it by November 15th, then the next deadline, they can be credentialed the next time around, which would mean 14 days after they submit the member form. So if they submit the member form, in December, they're going to be able to get credentialed 14 days after they do that at the next central committee meeting that is after those 14 days, right? So these are the things that we need, right? We need the chartering form. Everybody has to fill that out, preferably the club president, because that just makes it a little bit easier for you. We need the club dues for everybody, $48. We need everybody to submit a roster in this specific template, and we need a member form for the associate member if that associate member isn't going to be the president. Right? So now that I've explained all of that, I'm happy to get some questions. So, Narima.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for explaining that. I just want to comment, and not having, actually looked at this link this time round, I just want to talk about the frustration I had when I was completing these last year. So one of the things is that the form, this live form that you fill in, it doesn't allow you to save the data and then go back to it. I needed something from the treasurer that I needed to be inputted, and she wasn't available, so I had to restart it. And the second thing is that when I hit submit, I don't get any confirmation to say we've received it. And also I can't see what I submitted. So it would be really useful for me to be able to, because it's a live form, I'm just typing it in, and I need to be able to either save the form I've just submitted before I submit it, print it or something. I need to be able to go back sometime during the year to see what I've agreed to in this chartering. I think that would be very useful. Is that possible?
We use Airtable for this. I'm not sure that that is possible with Airtable. I need to look into the settings to see if that is possible. I do think that would be helpful if it is possible. So I'm making a note of that. Yeah. So I made a note about that. I will get back to you about whether or not that is possible, but I do hear your points about how that would make it easier.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Anna Webb.
Good morning. Thanks for the presentation. My first question is, didn't it used to be $100 I just want to verify that it's 48.
It's
Because-
48 now, yes. Mhm.
Okay, because all these
Yeah,
years.
so the cost was higher before because we were doing it every 2 years. Now we've gone back to doing it every year because we do want to get this updated information from our clubs. And now it is just, you know, we've made it $48 so that it makes it easier to prorate. Let's say that a club doesn't submit in, in time to charter for like January. If they submit it in February, like we can prorate that for the rest of the year.
Thank you. The second thing I just wanted to mention to club presidents or team members that are going to be assisting with the rechartering process is that going forward, if you look at the roster template from the county, if you create your Excel spreadsheet or Google Doc, whatever you're using, Google spreadsheet, create it with the same columns as theirs. It makes it so much more easy to upload it into the roster template. If you've got a different format, you're likely going to have to type in each line of information. So just a hot tip from someone.
That's a great tip. Yeah.
So,
and I mean, this template includes all of the information that you would probably need anyway for your club members. So, we don't tend to change this up very much. So if you want to continue to use this as a template for your club to keep, their information organized, we do suggest that as well. All right, thank you. Kate Bishop?
Hi, thank you. So my question is regarding home clubs and unique members.
Mhm.
This is our first year that we have the potential to have more than one associate. I don't know is the process possible to submit multiple associate forms with that bottom thing? And then how do we get verified for that in terms of having the numbers to qualify?
Yeah. So after you submit the roster in that roster template, we'll be able to see if you qualify for having additional members. And then you have each additional member needs to submit a form and in order to be credentialed in the different areas. So you need to have at least 20 unique members in the other areas other than your main area for your club.
Sorry, so each subsequent central committee rep needs to submit a form, not each additional above the 20 members. So your members for the additional region will just be listed as your members for the primary region, but it's the central committee rep that needs to submit an additional form. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Sonara.
Thank you. So just to clarify, so I can have 20 members from anywhere in the county for my starting 20. But if I want to have a specific second rep for an area, I have to disaggregate any of those 20 from the total and then have 20 additional, right? So I have to have, let's say, North Coastal, I'm trying to get a second rep. So any of the North Coastal people that I had in my original 20, I have to disaggregate and then have 20.
Right, you would need an additional 20 North Coast.
Other. Right. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. All right, Bill Seeger. Bill, can you hear me? Do you have your hand up? I can't hear you. If you're speaking, I can't hear you.
Andrea, I have a question, but I can't raise my hand for some reason. I'm having a computer problem today. May I ask what we're looking for, Bill?
Sure, you're breaking out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm having internet problem. It took me a while to be able to get on. Can you hear me better?
A little bit, yeah, let's try.
Regarding this, we also need a copy of, when we need the registration, so now you have asking for it. My question is regarding associate representative.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to understand.
Oh,
You can also send me an email and I'll try to respond to you, today, if
okay,
possible.
okay.
That
So
works.
can
Let me write my email in the chat. I
Okay.
can't really understand what you're saying.
And Amira,
Okay.
maybe you can put your question in the chat.
You can also
Sure.
do that.
Let me see. No, anything that I click on doesn't work right now. The hand raise, the chat. They need to be like 20 minutes to get online. So, I'll email you.
Yes, please email me and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Any other questions regarding the chartering?
Bill Seeger has put his question in the chat. It was, I resubmitted our recharter form last Tuesday. Is that a problem? I think that's amazing. You want to answer that, Andrea?
No, not a problem to get it early. I haven't started going through the ones that have been submitted so far, so we'll start to do that here shortly.
Andrea, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a minute and go through these different forms with the clubs, just so we can see if there's anything that people have questions with. Okay,
I
wonderful.
can stop sharing my screen, or do you want me to do that from my screen?
I can share my screen. I have
Okay.
it ready and ready to go. Okay.
There you go.
So here is our charter application form. And this is in the chat, by the way. The link to all of this is in the chat. I've also sent it to you in multiple emails. And so yeah, the first thing you do is your club name. If your club name is not listed, select other. Now, we had a problem before where people are having trouble selecting other. I'm trying to check to see. Yes, there is now another. Good. So if you are a new club, your name will be other. Otherwise, select your name of your club from the chat. Everyone on this call should be rechartering. Next up is the club EIN number. That is your number with the IRS. If you do not have one, you will need to apply for one. Everyone, again, should already have an EIN number. If you don't know what your EIN number is, since you're rechartering, ask staff. They will have your EIN number from the last time you chartered. So again, if you don't know what your EIN number is, ask the county staff. Your club has chartered before. This is the rechartering process. They will know this number. Club FPPC number. Now, if your club has a PAC, I know, for example, Democrats for Equality has a PAC, you will have an FPPC number. Most clubs that do not have PACs, that do not do political action of $2,000, do not spend or collect more than $2,000 for political activity, will not have a PAC. So this says mandatory. If you don't have an EIN number, just go ahead and put the word none. Chartering is for, we're going to be doing a renewal of a chartered club. You should know if your club is geographic or affinity, but if you don't know, please ask the staff. I've heard some noise in the background. Was someone trying to ask a question about these things or having trouble hearing me? Okay. So moving onwards, we have the area where your club is chartered. Again, you should know the area where your club is chartered, but if you do not, please ask the staff again where the club was last chartered. Now, ask the staff. You can just write clubs@sddemocrats.org. That goes to myself and everyone else. Andrea has also put her direct email in the chat, which is Andrea@sddemocrats.org. But feel free to write clubs@sddemocrats.org. I will put that in the chat as well, but it's just that, clubs@sddemocrats. You have any questions. Kate, you have a question about what we've gone over so far?
Yes, where our club is chartered, is that just where our first associate is?
That is correct. It is where your first associate goes to the central committee meetings.
Okay, no, so not like the physical address where people send us mail, right?
No.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
It is where your club associate attends central committee meetings. So this is you. The next thing is that you accept that you will keep the calendar at sddemocrats.org informed of any changes to your meetings. Now, it says to write calendar@sddemocrats.org, but also you should have a link to your own club meeting, and we encourage clubs to update their own changes to their club meetings on the calendar directly. I know that's been challenging for some clubs. If it's been challenging, write calendar@sddemocrats.org. That goes both to staff and to myself, and we can help update that calendar. But you should also have access to the Google Calendar of the San Diego County Democratic Party meeting for your club, and you should be able to update it there. So this is admitting that you're going to keep the party calendar updated with the meetings of your club, right? And the party calendar, just so you know, can be found at sddemocrats.org/calendar. This is the public calendar, and we want to have your club on that public calendar. Please include the standard meeting time and dates for your club. I know this is a little more confusing for some clubs than others. It's a text field, so you can write it in. So for example, I know the Coronado Club often alternates between Thursdays and Sunday. You can say Sunday one month, Thursday the next, and what time you meet. And again, if you have multiple meeting times, please list them there. Does your club meet virtual or in person? We have virtual, in person, or hybrid. So if your club meets in person, let us know, virtual or hybrid. It's just the basic information we need about the clubs. Please answer the following questions about representatives of your club. This except probably shouldn't be here. I hope we can still form. I don't think it's needed. Here we're going to put the name of the president. And this is saying that if the club president changes after being chartered within 30 days, that needs to be reported to the director of clubs. So report the change. Please email clubs@sddemocrats.org. Please include a copy of the meeting notes, and there's actually a form that needs to be filled out. So again, this form is new, and I see this as room for improvement, because there's a form where you record where there are changes to your club, the club leadership, I believe, or not. Yes, club update. This is the club update form. That is what needs to be filled out. It's not an email. It is. So next up is the phone number of that is your personal phone that we can reach you at. That's really important, because sometimes the phone of actual club is attached as often. And if I need to reach a club president about some urgent, this is not being shared with the world. It's shared with party staff. Please include a frequently checked phone number and email to get in touch with you about an club. The month of the officer election, this is when club elects officers. That's something that's important to our rechartering process. Now, this is what Andrea was speaking about earlier, which is your associate member. In past years, this was a separate form, but now we've made it. So if the club president is the associated member, you don't need to fill out a separate form. If the club member is not the associate member, then you will need to fill out the separate form. So yes, the member form that you need to fill out if the president is not the associate member. Okay. So also here, we want to know where in your bylaws, not the party bylaws, but the club's bylaws, the associate member selection process is defined. So some clubs, as a club as a whole, elect associates, others it's appointed by the board, elected by the board, appointed by the president. We just want to know where you define your own process for electing associate members. Go team liaison. We really want you to have go team liaison. Having go team liaison is important. It's mandatory. This is the person that works with the go team in order to make sure that the club is plugged to our FP with our neighbor to neighbor. Oftentimes the go team liaison is the president of the Blue Dream Club, and I'm also the go team liaison, or another board member. So a go team liaison doesn't have to be a unique individual, though it certainly could be, and I would recommend that it is, because then that person will concentrate on the go. I have been the go team liaison for the Blue Dream Dem Club because I previously sat on the Go Team board. Now I'm thinking I should assign someone else to do this, because they will be able to better focus on Go Team activities than I will as president. But again, Go Team liaison can be that. So Andrea, at this point, do you have anything you'd like to correct of what I said, or any comments, or I'll move on to the next session?
Oh, that's all correct. Yeah.
Okay, communications. So communications, the director club's chair and SDSU staff will use the club council email list to make announcements for club correspondence. So what this accept is, and I think we maybe need to do a better job of defining this, is that you will include clubs at sddemocrats.org on all communications. So we want to make sure that anything that is going out to your membership, any newsletter, etc., is also seen by the director of clubs and the staff. And so the way to do that is include clubs at sddemocrats.org on any of your mailing list or Google groups. So this accept is that you are accepting to do that. And I will, we'll work to make that a little clearer in the prompt. Club website. Okay, this is an important one. Clubs are supposed to have websites. I know you have struggled with your website, struggled with keeping your domain, etc. We do need to have a website for the club where people can go for more information. It doesn't need to have a domain of the club. It could be a Wix / the name of your club. It could be a free site. It could be a Google Club site. Now, one thing that I've done is I went ahead and I created a template for people that want to make websites using a Google template. This is a very quick and cheap way to make a website for your club. We also have a professional website designer on our club development staff. And if you'd like her assistance, either with filling the content on the site that you've created or creating a new site from scratch, she can assist you for a fee, of course. This is her job. But these templates are free and available for your use to help you make a website. I have spoken to some of you about helping you with that process, and I am available to do that. Club Facebook URL. This is optional. So a club website needs to have some basic components as well. And again, if you're making a website, please reach out to me to help with that, or Anna. She's the expert of all things website. And Anna, your hand was raised.
Yes, I just wanted to point out, because some clubs don't have this on their website, is my understanding it's mandatory to have a list of your officers, at least names, so it doesn't have to be photos, and B, your bylaws, a link to your bylaws. C, you have to have either a tab or a link to your minutes from your club meetings, throughout the year. Those are 3 mandatory things. And of course, you would want to have a contact page and, your homepage where you kind of rotate what, information about your meetings. She was getting ready to talk about components. And to me, one of the things that I noticed the most is that the general minutes or the bylaws are missing, or names of the executive committee or team board. Thanks.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Anna. As she stated, you're going to need a link to your a link or a list of your upcoming meetings. In this particular template that's done through a Google Calendar. This Google site is just one option. Again, you can use Wix, you can use WordPress. There's many ways to build it. But the basic components are: you need to have a calendar of your upcoming meetings. You need to have agendas of your upcoming meetings, meeting minutes. Generally speaking, a form to become your member and renew your membership. And as Anna very nicely pointed out, that form, and we'll get to this in a minute, should correspond to the form that you use for chartering. It will make life so much easier. And why didn't I do that? So thank you. That was an excellent suggestion. Endorsements. This isn't mandatory, but it is a club. You want to talk about who you've endorsed. So your endorsements oftentimes are listed on a club, as well as a form to solicit the endorsement. Under the about, we have the bylaws, very important, and in the list of directors. So, these are the components that are mandatory to have. You don't need to have photos here in this particular example. We do have photos, but you need the list of the board of directors. You need these basic components. So we have some questions and people have raised their hands. Yes, Bill Fowler.
So what is the consequence of not having some of these things? And what do you mean by mandatory? I mean, and
well,
by the way, there are clubs, and I've looked at sites where they have links to it, but for example, minutes are never updated, that kind of thing. So you know, is there a place where all the requirements are for this? And
Yes.
you know, the more requirements, mandated requirements, you know, I think they must be discussed and whether they're really important and things like that. It's just we're getting more and more requirements and they're harder to keep up. I mean, it's, you know, especially for a small club where, you know, we don't have people dedicated to, you know, so it comes down to 2 or 3, you know, sort of officers. So.
Right. So I'm just pulling up the Blue Jean Democratic site. I know it seems like this can be overwhelming. None of these requirements, however, are new. So the meeting calendar, that's always been there. Now, if you've inadvertently overlooked one of these requirements and not got it correct, that's fine. We'll say, hey, you know, update this or let us help you update this. So like I said, there's a few clubs right now that don't have working website. This recharting process is a great opportunity to get working again. Ann and I are available to help you with this. So, you know, I never, there's nothing here that's new. So for the Blue Dream site, for example, this is the blue page. My events calendar is just my Google calendar for Blue Dream. And I keep it updated because we keep our updated, right?
I know that, you know, I don't want to get into a long discussion about this because we'll try and do it. But at some point, you know, is it a requirement to have a website? Because if it's not, then, you know, maybe, you know, we don't need that or something like that, you know, so.
No, it's a requirement to have a website. So
okay, and what's the consequence for not complying with one or more of the requirements?
Well, again, we're willing to work with you on this. We know technology is hard. We know that it's been a problem for many people, but we do want you to make the effort. So, for example, I'm bringing up again the Blue Dream site for a reason. I do not go to this at the agenda. I have a Google Drive folder where I throw the documents into every month before the start of the meeting. And it reflects on the website because this is all done through Google. So this is the agendas. I'm just throwing the agendas into this Google Drive folder and they show up on the website. And with the minutes, I'm just throwing the minutes as
okay,
well.
I understand how for you this is very
website.
easy, and I agree. You know, and I'm not trying not to do it. I'm just saying that you know,
Right.
I guess there's some consequence to this, and I'm wondering whether all of a sudden you're going to come down on all the clubs and we can't get rechartered and because you're not in compliance and that kind of thing. And everybody, it's all good now, but you know, there have been crackdowns and I'm wondering about that as well. So
Well, I'm certainly
that's my comment about this.
Sure. My goal is not to not recharter my clubs. The goal is to get your clubs rechartered, and I want to help you do it. So if you're having trouble making a website, again, please contact clubs@sddemocrats.org. We are here to help you do that, right? So, you know, I'm just showing this as an example. There's many examples of how websites can be done. This is one that I did and then I turned into it for anyone to use. The bylaws is just Google. You should have you need to have minutes. You need to have that is just to throw it all together. So, you know, a website could be simple as a link tree. If you didn't want to use a template at all and you just wanted a link tree, which is just a collection of links, you could have a link to your bylaws, a link to your club calendar, a link to your agendas, and your minutes, both of which are stored in a Google Drive doc. So, you know, there's many ways to get to this requirement, but I want you to get to it for the sake of your own members and for the sake of Recharter. So, you know, it is mandatory. It is mandatory to post the agenda and meetings on your website. That is correct. The upcoming agendas and meetings are mandatory. We are public clubs, so we need to make ourselves available to the public if someone wishes to attend. So I see 2 hands raised. Anna, would you like to correct something I've said?
No, I think it would be a good segue though to maybe go back and explain what took place a few years ago, I would say even 5 to 6 years ago, 5 years ago, there were clubs that were not legitimately following the Democratic County Party rules, where they weren't meeting properly, they didn't have elected officers, there was no documentation, there was no website, basically there was no proof, but yet they were allowed to vote. So what happened is that's when some of these mandatory items came into play. And it just keeps us legit. I mean, any organization is like a charitable, for example, is required to list their officers. You know, certain items are required to be public on the website. So this kind of falls in line with that. So, I mean, I just wanted to remind or to inform some of the new presidents, people who weren't around at that point, that in fact, there was some clubs taking advantage of loopholes, but stacking votes. And this tends to eliminate that.
Okay, Barbara, you have a question?
Yeah, how long are these supposed to be up there? Because pretty much anything we basically keep our minutes on a website for no more than 2 years. Are you supposed to keep them, you know, forever? You're talking about a cost for some people if they have all this storage space that they have to keep.
I think that's a great point. 1 year, I believe, is fine. There is no requirement in the bylaws, but we're recharting year after year. So, you know, I maybe that's something we need to better clarify, but I think 1 year is more than sufficient. That's my opinion at this point. But
thank you very much.
There's no requirement there. Yeah. Okay, so okay, great. So club website. Name to use as a contact in the club directory. The default is the president. So we have a directory of clubs. If you go to clubs@stdemocrats.org, we have a club directory. And there is a certain amount of public information that we put on that directory. And, you know, who the contact person for the club is one of those things. So that is this person here, and the club email address for the club directory, and the club phone number to be used in the club directory. Google phones are generally Google phone numbers are generally used by clubs. The only problem I've found is they're not used very often, so I often have to renew that Google Voice number, or someone putting their personal phone up. That is fine as well. So it's just an email and phone number. If someone wants to contact us about upcoming meeting or some consideration, how to. So right here, I'm just going to go ahead and show both of that. So this is the chartered clubs. And again, this is the contact person, the president, their phone number and email. So it's saying what information would like to be displayed here, our public website for the Democratic Party. When I was talking about club calendar of meetings, this is that. At calendars@stdemocrats.org, we will update this. You should have access on your own Google, if you have a Google email account, to your own weekly update as well. So that is those two things there. U.S. postal address. Again, this is the postal address where if someone was to write the club, where would they write the club? Here. Let me just update every 5 minutes. The postal address is not currently shown. So that's interesting. I'll check with staff about whether or not that's still necessary. My personal address for the club that I'm a president of, not everyone's comfortable doing that, many postal address. So acknowledge to receive correspondences from SDCDP. So the club will add SDDEM to all email list and calendar to all meeting notifications. So this is this acceptance right here. Please confirm your bylaws, constitution with a yes or no answer. Membership is open to all registered Democrats. And again, I think some stuff on these, I think needs to be cleaned up, and we'll try to do that after the meeting. We have a few accepts here that don't seem to go anywhere. So membership is open to all registered Democrats. Roster has at least 8 Democrats who are has at least 20 member Democrats or intend to do so when eligible. These are all yes/no questions to verify that you still qualify as a club. Individuals that register other than Democratic Party are non-voting members. You can have members that are registered to someone other than Democrats, but they may not vote in your endorsement procedures. At least 2/3 of the members are registered Democrats or intend to register as Democrats. Now, these rules are for people that are registered to vote. You may also have a high school club or a youth club or just members of your club that are under the age of 18. They may intend to register as Democrats and be full members of your club. So they would qualify as yes here and yes here, but they're not yet registered. Or if your club has a large population of immigrants, for example, La Voz Demócrata, we have a number of people that are not yet eligible to vote. We can say, yes, they are not registered as another party, so they can be a voting member, and they intend to register as Democrats, so they're also a yes. So, you know, again, people who are not yet U.S. citizens or people that are under the age of 18 may be full members as long as they intend to register as Democrats when they intend to do so, when they're able to do so. Okay, only Democrats and those who intend to register as Democrats may serve as officers of the clubs. Clubs meet at least quarterly. This is really important. We need clubs to meet at least once per quarter, and that their locations, times, and dates are provided to both SDCDP, so both clubs at SD Democrats and the members 14 days prior to the meeting. Clubs shall endorse only Democrats. Non-Democratic candidates may only be rated as acceptable or qualified. So these are just the requirements that we have for clubs, and we're getting clubs to sign off of them as part of Recharter. Clubs shall only endorse Democrats. Non-Democratic candidates may only be rated acceptable or unacceptable. Full membership is given notice of the endorsements in a particular race 14 days prior. Reasonable attempts are made to notify and all Democratic candidates. So these are the endorsement recommendations we are all aware of. That endorsements by the club shall not be construed as endorsements by the party. Publication of endorsements clearly delineate between endorsed candidates and those rated acceptable. Approval of amendments to the bylaws and constitution must be voted on by all members. Georgine, your hand is raised.
Yes, the rating a non-Democrat, what was that, qualified, or is that if there's no, a non-Democrat, is that only if there's no Democrats running in that race?
That is correct. Thank you for that clarification. A non-Democrat may only be rated acceptable if there are no Democrats running. You can rate a non-Democrat as unacceptable at any time. Okay. So publication of endorsements, okay, and definition of members in good standing, that you have a definition of what represents good standing to your club. This is very important for votes, that we know who is and is not eligible. Requirements of the CD representatives are members in good standing. That is that you provide a member in good standing for CDP endorsements. That the club has added clubs at SD Democrats to all club email list. I believe we have this question twice. So this form is new, and I believe we need to do a little cleanup. Okay, if the club does not currently meet the SD CDP requirements, it is not able to charter. Okay, the club must bring into compliance with the Democratic Party. So this is accepting that if you have not said yes to all the questions above, you will not be able to charter. Then the required documents. So these other links that we provided are also provided in this sheet. So the roster template, here's the roster template again. You need to provide the following information about each of your club members to the party. This information will not be used by the party for other purposes. We do not use this information to contact club members about anything without your permission. It is simply to verify that you have valid, real club members. So first name, last name, their registered address, city, zip. If you're having trouble finding the registered address, you should have access to Vote Builder. Contact clubs@sddemocrats.org if you need help finding registered getting a Vote Builder account to get someone registered address, or you should be able to email them and ask them for that as well, right? So get their address, city, zip, their home phone, their cell phone, their work phone. Now, only one of these phone numbers is mandatory. You do not have to have all three. So, you know, for most of my members at Blue Dream Dems, we only have their cell phone number. Email, you want to have an email for all your club members that use email. There are some obvious reasons why, you know, for physical limitations, some people cannot use email, but for most of your club members, unless there's a physical limitation, please list their email. We may use that to verify them as a member of your club. So what party your club members correspond to, whether or not they're an officer, and this says unique chartering member. So this is whether the person has chosen their club, your club as their home club. Where does this come into play? This comes into play for if a person is a member of multiple clubs, and if that person wants to be considered one of your 20 additional members. So this is when someone has chosen your club as their home club, okay? So because a person can only be a member of one club for the sake of establishing that 20 members. Now, someone has asked why this is the case. It was a case, again, many years ago. Someone established a number of quote unquote clubs in multiple jurisdictions with the exact same members. So now we have a requirement that 20 members of your club must be unique to your club, that they consider your club to be their home club for the purposes of chartering. That's very important, that you have 20 people in your club that choose your club as their primary Democratic club. So we don't, again, have a situation where people are creating 1, 2, 3 clubs that had the exact same list of members. So this is for your use only, and it's not mandatory. What type of member is your member? You may have a distinction between student member, senior member, non-voting member if they're an independent. But this is not mandatory. This is for your own use. The district is also for your use, and it's for your use of the California Democratic Party because they will be asking the assembly district. So this needs to be made a little bigger because we need to have that. We need to have the assembly district for the purposes of California Democratic Party only. It's not needed for us. So neither of these are mandatory. So someone has raised their hand. Okay, Amira, you raised your hand.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. There also was a question as far as, the party. Some of the members, they changed to independent or undeclared. How do we find what party they're registered? I've called them, and then, you know, one of them says, I think I changed to independent, but I need to verify before I submit the form.
Yes, so you should have access to Vote Builder. Vote Builder allows you to look up people's registration. If you're having trouble getting into Vote Builder, please contact clubs@stdemocrats.org. We're happy to give you a Vote Builder account. What Vote Builder is our voter database for San Diego County, and we can help you look up, and we can help you know how to look up the registration of a person. This will give you their registration address, their party, and zip code, etc. So if you have as registered, you should be able to look it up for yourself using your Vote Builder login. If you don't know your Vote Builder login, please contact clubs@stdemocrats.org.
Okay. And also, would that tell me the district?
Yes, that would tell you all the districts, and that's what we use for California Democratic Party when we're trying to establish the districts for chartering with the California Democratic Party. So yes, that tells you the assembly district, the city council district, all the districts for a person.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Okay, we had a question in the chat about permanent residents. Yes, as I had said before, someone who is a permanent resident that indicates that they will become a Democrat when they register to vote can be a full voting member of your club. So I used an example, La Voz Demócrata, but any immigrant population or any immigrant to any geographic club, right, who is not yet a full citizen but is a permanent resident, or even if they're not yet a permanent resident but they are in actuality permanently living here, has the ability to register in your club as long as they intend to register as Democrat when they are able to vote. Okay, and I'm muted myself, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, back to this form. Are there any other questions about the roster? Okay, with that in mind, date mail delivered check for club chartering. Now, this is when you pay your club dues. So it says date mailed or delivered, but it's not always going to be a check because you can pay your dues online by clicking on this link. And when you click on this link, it will take you to this page where you can pay your club's dues. So you can pay online, and this is just the date that you've paid online or you've paid via mail. So you can either send a check to the office at Murphy Canyon Road, or you can pay via online, via PayPal or other payment method, or a credit card on that date. The payment does not need to come from your club's account. If an officer would like to pay it from their personal account or the personal check, we are not particular about that. Okay, rosters, current members only. So this is that roster list that we keep talking about. Here is the roster list. We want you to fill this out with your current member. Now, Andrea spoke about the importance of updating your list to have the current contact information for your members. That's very important. But if you're submitting the same list year after year, I'm going to have bigger questions because people's members do not stay consistent over a period of 5 years. People move, new people join your club. We want to see your true roster for this year, not last year. If you send us the same list you sent us last year, we will send it back to you and say, there must be an error. Because I guarantee you, a club that is meeting on a regular basis, requiring dues, will not have the exact same members year after year. So please include a list of your current members who are up to date on their dues or have requested a dues waiver. Because we have members of our clubs that simply cannot afford to inscribe, and many clubs have procedures to allow a waiver. A roster of officers. We need a list of the officers of the club. This can be a simple Word document that says president name, vice president name, etc. So we want to know who are the officers of your clubs. So Amira, your hand is raised.
Yeah, regarding the paying dues, for the since COVID, we have waived our dues. Only the officers pay. Is there an issue with that?
No, there is absolutely not. You are totally welcome to have dues or not have dues. Most clubs choose to have some minimal level of dues because it's how we pay for our website, our domain, pay for an event. I mean, there are costs associated with having a club. There is no requirement that your members pay dues, but many clubs choose to have their members pay dues in order to cover those bases.
Yeah, we had some money in the bank, so we decided that we're gonna cut everybody's slack and not to charge them since COVID started. Yeah. And so we haven't had big fundraising to use the money, and we just decided to go toward applying that. So then what would happen when we have like votes, who is considered in good standing if there are no
yes. That's per your bylaws. Your bylaws can say there's no dues. I'm going to be speaking about this later, by the way. Okay. But it's important to have criteria for what is a member of good standing. So what a member of good standing is needs to be defined in your bylaws, and you want to have some criteria. So besides dues, the other ways to establish how someone is a member of good standing is meeting attendance. So for a club that is currently operating, obviously can't do this, a brand new club, we often have meeting attendance requirements that they will have had to attend 1 or 2 meetings within the last 6 months or the last year. This is very important when it comes to eliminating club stacking. I'll be going into why clubs will want to do that later on during our best practices discussion. So please have some criteria in your bylaws. If it isn't dues, be it meeting attendance, or most clubs do both, to make sure that members are indeed in good standing, because otherwise the consequences can be that that new people can join the clubs for the sake of influencing one vote. And when that happens, that can cause, and I will speak about that later. So bylaws, we want to have a copy of those bylaws that we keep speaking about. All clubs need to have bylaws. Upload a copy. It can be a PDF, DocX, you know, a Google Doc, a Word doc, but have a copy of your bylaws. Let us know when the bylaws were last updated. And then please submit the form. So name of the applicant, phone number of the applicant, email address of the complement. This is who is submitting this form. So oftentimes that's the club president or secretary or someone on the board. For example, I'm on the board of La Voz Demócrata. I'm not the president, but I submitted the form last year for club chartering just because I knew how to do it and was willing to do it. I think that was the big one. I said I would, so they let me because no one else wanted to. So I put that I was the one submitting the form for La Voz Demócrata, even though I'm the treasurer, not the president. So the person filling out does not need to be the president. Oftentimes it is. And again, thank you for presidents, club presidents, for all you do. We all know it's a lot of work. So this is, again, your confirmation that you understand what you're doing, that you will let us know we have changes. And okay. This looks again to be an error. So it looks like we have a little cleanup to do on this form. So I'm going to send a note over to the person that prepared this form and do a little cleanup because this club checklist is not necessary. And I see a few accepts around here that are necessary. So Andrea, do you have any follow-up? I just wondering. Okay, hearing nothing, I believe we'll move on in our presentation. Andrea, do you have anything further you'd like to say? You are on mute, Andrea. Do you have anything further you'd like to say before we move on to the next section? Okay, hearing none from Andrea, I'm going to go ahead and move on. Okay, so this next part is very important. We are going to be discussing and considering a vote, rather a consideration, not yet a vote, but a consideration on a proposed bylaw amendment, extending notification period to two clubs, not 4 clubs, but 2 clubs for endorsement. So I'm going to spend a second and speak about why this is necessary. So currently in the bylaws, the San Diego County Democratic Party, the clubs are given 30 days notice minimum. Oftentimes we're given more, usually we're given minimum of days notification about an upcoming change to the bylaw. Okay, an upcoming endorsement by the regional caucus. And then, you know, if the club has not yet held a vote on the race being endorsed, the club will try to hold a vote so that they can take place in that endorsement consideration. All club endorsement votes are bound at a regional caucus. So because our endorsement votes are bound, we have to take a vote as a club prior to the regional caucus voting. Narima, is this about the last item or is this about the current item? I see your hand is up.
This is about the current item.
Is this a question? Okay, is it a question?
It's a comment. So when you get done, I just
like
this question.
Okay, great. So we have so we are given a minimum of 30 days of upcoming endorsement votes by the regional caucus members. This came up because twice in the last few months, regional caucuses gave clubs less than 45 days notice about an upcoming endorsement consideration. Why is that a problem? The issue is when you look at a calendar and you say, okay, clubs are given, let's say they're today, I was told about an endorsement consideration coming up on November 21st. Well, November 21st, let's say I need to give my club 2 weeks notice about an upcoming vote. So I have to give my club 2 weeks notice. Right now is the 21st. The soonest I could notice a meeting and an endorsement vote for would be the 4th of October. Well, what if my standard meeting falls within the last week of October or the first week of November prior to the 4th. At that point, let's say it was on the 23rd or the 31st or the 1st, our standard club meeting. Then I won't have a standard club meeting for which I can provide notice prior to the 21st of the month, because we need to give 2 weeks notice. And after we do an endorsement vote, we have to give the party 48 hours notice when we turn in our endorsement vote. So those two requirements make it so that 30 days notice could, and often does, limit the ability of a club to consider an endorsement at their standard meeting. So this is something the North Coastal Caucus recently experienced. It's something the South Caucus recently experienced. 30 days simply logistically may not be enough notice to do a vote at our meetings. Now, we are told as clubs, well, you know, if you know something is a, what is the word? Not a priority race, but a, someone help me here. What is the word? Not a standard consideration.
Strategically critical.
Thank you. Strategically critical consideration. Then you should know to put it on your schedule. Well, the issue that one of the caucuses recently had is they voted to make something strategically critical the first month, and then asked the clubs to have their endorsement in by the next month. So, you know, again, when we know endorsements are coming up, it is very important that the clubs themselves start having endorsements as soon as possible on races that we know are coming up. However, you know, we need time. So I think we'll explain that in a good manner. Narima's hand is up. Narima, would you like to comment on this item?
Yes, so I would like to advocate very strongly the 60 days notice. And the reason for that, as you just mentioned, in the North area, caucus had a meeting, and you talk about the 30-day notice, but sometimes the clubs only get 14 days. So if the North area coastal meeting is usually, the caucus meeting is the 3rd Saturday, our meetings are on the 1st Saturday, which means in that cycle, we would only get about 14 days. If we have a national speaker already planned at that meeting, it's very challenging to put on a contested race endorsement. So 45 days is not going to work because that will give us another 2 weeks, but we won't meet until the next month. So the 45 days is really not going to work for our club because we're going to have an additional meeting. So I would really like to advocate for 60 days because we're never going to get 60 days. We're probably only going to get 45 days or 30 days at the end of the day, because of the way and the weeks that the caucuses meet and when the clubs meet to have their meetings.
Thank you, Narima. Patrick, your hand is raised.
Thank you. Yeah, I would support, I think, an extension. I'm not sure if 45 or 60 is the best, but I think longer than 30, certainly. I would say maybe if we do advocate for longer than 30 days, we might want to allow an exception for special elections that have compressed timelines and may require special meetings for endorsements and things like that. So I think just being mindful of that would be appropriate, so we don't end up in a situation where there's a special for a vacancy and we're not able to endorse in time.
Okay, I will say that even special elections, they have to announce it. I'm not quite sure. Is it 4 months in advance of the election, or is it 6 months? Anna, you're shaking your head.
No, to hold a special election in your club, I mean, you can basically hold that in.
No.
You have to notice.
No.
Oh.
No. When a special election announced by, I believe it's 4 months. No, the registrar of voters.
Sure.
So when a special election is coming up, I don't think that will be such an issue because which election is coming up, and I make sure that the clubs know, right? So whether or not the party has announced to us that we need to make an endorsement in the supervisor's race or in Chula Vista City Attorney's race, we're all aware when those are coming up. I don't think that this is going to be really relevant to this conversation. Again, the registrar of voters will give us 4 months, and the party, I think at least 5 days, I think fair from the announcement of a special election to when they make their announcement. So Anna, your hand is raised.
Yes, just briefly, I wanted to reiterate our issue, similar to who spoke earlier of their issue in North County. And that's because we got noticed for an endorsement meeting on July 31st. Well, our meeting was the first Thursday, which was August 5th. We already had our meeting planned, friendly endorsement for County Supervisor Chair Nora Vargas. And we had already planned to not have a meeting in September. So yes, I suppose we could have gone ahead, but we would have had to redo I would call it a special election for our club, you know, a special meeting, and with a lot of work, and we hadn't prepared for that. So I agree that 45 minimal, 60 would be ideal, but just wanted to throw my 2 cents in and explain.
And I also made that argument to the e-board when I told them about this upcoming consideration. I said, you know, I told the e-board, and just so everyone knows, the reason my camera has been off is because I am in Mexico and I have low bandwidth. So my apologies. I'm not trying to be rude by not showing myself on camera. I simply don't want to interrupt the flow of the meeting with my bandwidth issues. What I argued to the e-board was I said a special meeting of a club is a burden. And it's less democratic because a club has agreed, all of its members, that on this day we are available to meet. If we change for just 1 month to another day of the month, we will inevitably lose club members who cannot accommodate that meeting time. And that makes it less democratic. So asking clubs to hold a special meeting may not seem like a big deal, but inevitably there will be scheduling conflicts, inevitably less people will be able to participate, and inevitably that's hard for democracy. And quite frankly, if your club meets in person as well, if you're not meeting on Zoom, finding a new location can be painful, or and just the scheduling headaches that go along with that. So Greg Robinson, your hand is raised.
Yeah, I mean, this proposal seems so reasonable to me, even 45 or 60. What's the pushback against it? What's the justification for having 30 in the first place? And are you getting any pushback from people about maintaining it the way it is?
Great question. So I think the 30 in the first place, they just weren't thinking about it, to be honest, because this is current bylaw, say 30 days. But when I brought it up to party staff, the comment that I got was, oh, that makes sense. I can see how that would be a problem. So I think the 30 days was just established because that's kind of a typical, notification. It seemed reasonable. But once you work the numbers, which is to say that you need to give 2 weeks advance notice to your clubs, club meets once a month, then you have to do 48 hours, you have to inform the party. All of a sudden, people realized, oh, this is not reasonable. Now, I asked the e-board because I wanted to know what their feedback was, if they would accept 60 days or 45. I did get some pushback on the 60 days, but everyone agreed that 45 was reasonable. Now, what we do to vote on today will be suggestion to the admin committee. So votes that we take at council clubs are not final. They constitute a recommendation, and the admin committee will make the final decision. So we could vote for 60 days today. The committee considers that to be unreasonable. They could reduce that to 45 days. So Narima, your hand is raised, and then Dr. Banerjee, you're next.
Yes, we've not had this issue before, even though it was a 30-day minimum, because we seem like going back, I checked the last cycle and we were given 60 days. For some reason, the vice chairs of these caucuses are bringing them to this 30-day minimum. That 30-day minimum is actually not 30-day minimum to the club, it's 30 days from when the last caucus meeting occurred. Exactly. So the reason we are having these issues are because they're doing, they're using that minimum in the bylaws to, give this notice to the clubs, because we've not had this issue in previous years.
Yeah, and just to respond to that, I made the same observation. There is a current push in the party to do endorsements as early as possible for strategic reasons. And it's something I've pushed back on at the e-board because, again, it makes it harder for clubs to participate. So there's a current strategic to it's made it harder for clubs to participate because we simply haven't always been able to do our endorsements in a timely fashion. Dr. Banerjee?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, sorry. I'm also in another country as you are, Madam Chair. So would it be appropriate right now to make a motion to amend the language recommendation from 45 to 60 days?
Absolutely. I actually kind of left it open. It's whatever someone proposes at this point. We don't have a motion on the floor at this point. So the motion can be 60 days. Before we do that, I'd love to hear from Cody Vieira. She is the previous president of the Council of Clubs, the director of the Council of Clubs in San Diego Young Gems, because I think she has some expertise to share with us.
Hey, yeah, so I absolutely agree with this, at least 45, if not more. It's been an issue for my clubs in the past. I will note that I and others did advocate for it to be at least 45 or more when this was first implemented, but there was a lot of pushback from others in the party about, that this would limit the flexibility of, when they wanted to put things on the calendar. And I forget if there was an official vote or they just decided on 30 and that's how it went, but at Central Committee. But this has been an ongoing issue, but I fully support increasing it.
Wonderful. Thank you for your insights. Georgine?
Yeah, I just want to second Dr. Banerjee's motion.
Okay. Dr. Banerjee, did you make a motion? Did we make a motion there?
If I have it, I will right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll be happy to make a motion right now to amend the language to read from 45 days notice to 60 days notice. And I'd be happy to speak on behalf of the motion.
Yeah, I'll be happy to second.
Second.
Chi Wu-Chen, second.
I think
Thanks,
we're
Chi Wu.
competing for seconds, but I think this is going to be a popular motion. Okay, so with that in mind, if we are to have a vote, we need to establish who is eligible to vote. And I think seems very not controversial. I think a hand raised vote would be appropriate in this case. I'd just like to ask, who is phone number 415-939-4868? We don't have you credentialed. If you'd like to come off mute, you're on mute, 415-939-4868. Okay. Not hearing who that person is, we need to credential. Right now, we have credentialed already. Everyone who's representing a club should have, the name of the club after their name. Barbara, I don't have that on your name. I assume you're here representing San Marcos Democratic Club? Oh yeah, SMDC. Duh. That was simple.
Yeah.
Is anyone who wishes to vote not properly credentialed with your name afterwards? Mm-hmm.
Madam Chair, I just got a message from Nicole Crosby. That's that 415 number is Nicole Crosby. She is representing Claremont Gems.
Wonderful. Okay. So yeah, she was on earlier, so she switched to her phone. We'll go ahead and rename her. I have hands up. Are these point of order information? I have, are you making a point of information, or is this?
Yes, it's a point of information. We don't have a motion on the floor, so it can't be an amendment. It's a motion to amend the SDCDP bylaws. It's not an amendment to the motion. There is no motion on the floor when we first talked about it.
Actually, what I'm doing is I'm making a motion to amend the language in this proposed bylaw change.
Yes, okay, thank you, because you
in
said
the bylaws, in the bylaws,
60.
Yeah.
So it should say 30 to 60. The motion should say amending it from 30 to 60.
yeah, I just, I can't read I'm on my phone right now and I can't read the
Okay.
text. Yeah, appreciate that. But y'all get it.
Okay. Yes. Okay, Amira, do you have a point of information? I mean, we're not voting yet, but I see some hands up, so I want to make sure that this is related to the motion.
No, I just wanted a
Do
correction.
you have a question, Amira?
I need to make correction because I see next to my name it says Pakistani, but we are Iranian American Democrats.
You are. So sorry. I'm so sorry.
I thought it was somebody else, and I keep reading it. And I said,
no, I screwed up.
FYI.
Okay, my sincere apologies.
No problem.
Anna?
Yes, I just wanted to let Nicole Crosby know that, and you probably know this, but since you're on your phone, if you wish to raise your hand to vote, it's *9.
Greg, do you have any point of information or voting eligibility issues or something?
Yeah,
We're
just
not
a
yet voting.
question about the motion itself. Since you indicated previously that the pushback from other people, whoever that may be, was the lack of flexibility. That is, if we had more than 30 days, it might tie the hands. Is there any concern by asking for 60 rather than 45 that this may make it less likely to go through? Or is the hand of our representative, if this goes to the committee as you indicated, is it possible to make a compromise then down to 45 days if we find out that 60 does really reduce the flexibility in making decisions? It's just that kind of practical question about this. We don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good if we're trying to increase our flexibility, but it decreases the flexibility of the party in some unanticipated areas.
What wonderful point. So what Cody had pointed out was when this was originally set to 30, there was pushback to make it longer. When I asked recently, and it was the chair herself, she said that 30 seemed too long to her, but she would be fine with 45 days. I did not receive any pushback to 45 days when I explained the time issues with 30 days. I did not receive any pushback from anyone. So that's a good thing. I still think we should push for 60 days, letting them know if that is not possible. We would like a minimum of 30 days. Our preference is 60 days because, you know, I mean, I don't think that we're going to have a problem extending it to 45, but I agree with the issues brought up with everyone else with the 45, specifically that case where something was announced on July 31st, that there would be a consideration on September 12th, and most clubs had already informed their members that they would be on break in August. So I too would appreciate 60 days notice. I think it will not shoot us in the foot with 45 as long as we make it at a minimum 45 is wanted. So Dr. Banerjee, do you want to possibly amend your motion to make it slightly clearer in this effect? I don't know, or your hand is up next, so go for it.
Yeah, did I get to speak to my motion or? Oh,
yeah, speak.
Sorry. Okay. So I'd like to speak to the motion. So, I would actually agree with my colleague Greg over there. That's like that we are asking for a lot in the 60 days, but I think based on the conversations that we've had here, based on I've had conversations with other club leaders, 60 days is fair. You do need time to gather your club, to have your e-boards meet. And I don't have a problem telling the admin committee via our vote here, if it's unanimous, if it's overwhelming, et cetera, that, look, this is the voice of the clubs. This is the voice of the constituency. And I understand things are hard to put on the calendar, but this is where we say our voice. This is where we make our voice heard. And look, let's ask for 60. Let's not just ask for 60. Let's tell them what 60 is what we want in this motion. I don't see a problem with it. It's our voice, it's democracy, and it's telling them what we feel as clubs are fair. Because I'm not gonna be happy if we're told at area meetings that, oh, the clubs didn't vote, so your voice doesn't count. Like, that's not acceptable to me. So let's say 60.
Thank you. Okay. So Anna, your hand was raised next, and then Georgine.
Yes, just a quick question because I absolutely 100% agree with Dr. Indro. And what I would say is, and ask is, if they shoot down the 60, we can then come back with 45, correct? Like at our next meeting?
Yes. Well, I don't think we have to come back to this meeting. If we decide that 60 is what we want, and we aim for that, and if the admin committee is unhappy with it, we could compromise at 45. I think that's fine. I think that's been made clear in the motion. I don't see a reason for us to come back here if we're all in agreement that that's what we're aiming for. And I think there does seem to be a sense of agreement.
Thank you, great.
Okay, Georgine, you're not on mute, but I cannot also not hear you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know I was called. I apologize. Yes, just concurring with both Anna Webb and Dr. Indranil Banerjee. Yes, let's keep it at 60.
Okay, wonderful. Patrick?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to the amendment, or to the an amendment to the motion rather, to add and I agree with what's been suggested for the 60 days, but then to also add at the end of it that in the case of special elections, that at least 45 days notice be given. And if I could speak to the motion. Well, I guess first, if there's a second for
that. Since I made the motion, I'll second that. I think it's fair.
Okay, thank you. Could I speak to the motion?
Sure.
Okay, so just looking at, obviously we're more familiar than we would like to do with special elections this year. In the case of, I'm just looking at the current calendar for the November 7th special, that primary or initial election was held in August. So just looking at, the voter information ballots or pamphlets went out September 28th. The ballots began to go out to registered voters October 8th, just about 2 months or so after we had the candidates that were running in it. So I think we need to be cognizant that, especially given our, in our post or in our, since COVID situation and increased vote by mail, that the election day is, really starts about 30 days before the election. And so with only having, 3 or 4 months from that, I think having 60 days wouldn't be practical for the quick turnaround times on those. I mean, I think there's probably going to be a similar outcome or timeline if Monica Montgomery Stepp wins the election, for a vacancy in her council district. I think I've heard that that's probably going to be on the March ballot. So I think it's having 60 days notice in advance of that in order to make the endorsement be effective and be out on, in time for folks to actually get ballots. I think a shorter time frame is necessary, and hopefully those are infrequent enough that I think it's reasonable to ask the clubs to accommodate in those situations.
Okay, sounds good. So with that in mind, we have a motion and a second so okay, someone who's better at parliamentary procedure than I, help me. Do you accept the amendment to the motion, Dr. Banerjee? I think that's what needs to be done.
No, actually,
yes.
Just interrupt, point of order. It's not up to him to
Yes, please.
to the body as a whole. And so what you need to do is vote first on the amendment and then on the motion as amended.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you. Let's do that.
Order,
okay. So
point of order.
Yes.
I actually believe if the mover and the seconder of the original motion accept my motion as a friendly amendment, then it doesn't have to be voted on separately. It just becomes the main motion then, as amended.
I thought that was the case. Okay, Cody, do you want
point of order on that? Check
No,
your
yeah,
sorry.
point,
there's no such
yeah.
thing as a friendly amendment. So you need to double check that.
Yeah, Greg is correct. Sometimes you see that done in certain things like councils and stuff, but that actually is not per Robert's rules. You do have to vote on the amendment first and then the motion as a whole, because once you make a motion and it's seconded, it belongs to the body, it no longer belongs to the maker.
Wonderful. Okay, so with that in mind, let's vote on the amendment, which is to require a minimum of 45 days in special elections notification to. Is okay.
Point of order, Madam Chair. I think it's the amendment to go to 60 days.
No, it's the amendment is for, so the amendment to your motion that Patrick put forth is 45 days for special elections. Your original motion, which is to amend the bylaws, is to recommend a 60-day notification. So with that in mind, we are voting on Patrick's motion to amend your motion to make it 45 days notification from the party for clubs to for special elections. So all those in favor, please vote. Please keep in mind that the only people that can vote are those that are their club representative. If you are not the representative of your club today, please keep your hand down.
And Madam Chair, there's a vote from Nicole Crosby. She's unable to unmute herself or raise her hand.
Perfect.
She has informed me that she's voting for this.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. We appreciate you being here. So, okay, all those who would like to vote, please vote. All those who would like to vote, please vote. Okay. So, okay.
Madam Chair, Anna Webb here.
Yes.
I notate 22 votes.
22, yes. Okay, thank you. So we have 22 votes in favor. Okay, let's lower everybody's hands. See if I can do that or someone can do that. Reactions. How do we lower hand? Lower all hands. That's what I'm trying to do and probably failing to do it. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Lower all hands. I think it's here. No, it's not. Where do we lower all hands, everyone? Let's see. How do I lower all hands? Oh boy. Okay. Well, all hands have been lowered. Thank you, everyone, for doing yourself. Okay. So how many votes was that again, Anna?
22.
22 in favor. Okay. And then all those opposed, same sign. Okay. All those who would like to vote, please vote. Okay. We see one against. So that motion to the original motion carries. So we have 22 in favor, 1 against. Now we are going to vote on the original motion. And the original motion is now with the amendment that we would like the bylaws to read 60 days notification to the clubs, if at all possible, with an absolute minimum of 45 if they will not accept the 60 days, but we're asking the party to give us 60 days notification for the clubs. And 45 days for the for special elections. So any regular election, they give a 60 days notification to the clubs, and any special election, they give 45 days notification for the clubs. With that said, everyone in favor, please raise your hand. Okay.
And Madam Chair, once again, Nicole
okay.
Crosby is voting yes on this from
Right.
the Claremont Dems.
And Madam Chair, I count, including Nicole Crosby, I count 24 hands
As
raised.
do I. As do I. Okay, so we have 24 in favor. Okay, can everyone please lower their hand, and will someone tell me how to lower hands? I don't know how. I wish I did. Make life easier for everyone. Let's see. Okay, all hands are lowered. Thank you, everyone, for being better at Zoom than I. So 24 are in favor. Anyone against this motion? Are there any votes against this motion? All those who'd like to vote against, please vote. Okay, seeing none, that motion passes unanimously. So that is our recommendation to the admin committee. Again, we do not have the ability to change the bylaws ourselves, but we can recommend the admin committee that we will do that, and we are going to do so. So we appreciate that. Okay, on to the next portion of our meeting, which is best practices. So best practices. We have two issues of best practice that came up recently for different clubs, and I'd like to address them both now. So club stacking, why this is and what this is and why this is a problem. Club stacking is when a number of individuals, I made up this definition, by the way, so you can correct me on it, but club stacking is when a number of individuals join a club for the express purposes of influencing one or more specific endorsement votes. Why can club stacking be problematic? It could make it harder for a club to reach quorum at subsequent meetings where the new individuals no longer attend. This actually happened to one club. The South Bay Democratic Club was destroyed due to club stacking because they were never again reached quorum. The individuals joining the club may not subscribe to or even fully understand the priority issues of the club community. So time taken on consideration not relevant to the missions of the club, leaving less time for considerations relevant to the mission of the club. So let's say a bunch of people join a club, that aren't familiar with the issues of the club. So they join the Blue Dream Democratic Club, and during candidate consideration, they ask questions about topics that don't have to do with the mission of our club, which is drug normalization, right? That's less time that we have to spend with the candidates on the issues that are crucial to the club, right? And the outcome of endorsements votes themselves may not reflect the will of the club, whose mission it is the community to serve. So when individuals join from outside a community, join for the purposes of influencing a special vote, their priorities may not be in line with that of the community. So another example, I just give an example of Blue Dreams. I know that in Lemon Grove, the paving of Madera Road is very important. That's something your club members may want to spend time asking the candidates, but if people have joined the Lemon Grove Club from Encinitas for the purpose of influencing a vote, they may not be talking about paving roads and local priorities to the Lemon Grove community. And they may not be voting on those priorities as well. They may be voting on larger political concerns. So this is why club stacking can be a problem for clubs. And it recently had been a problem for at least one club in our group. So I just want to reiterate now, I've had plenty of clubs say, oh, this has never been a problem for us. It never is until it is. So, to Amira's point, how do we get to good standing? How do we know who's someone in good standing? Also, for the purposes of club stacking, we absolutely recommend that you have an attendance of multiple previous meetings on a rolling time period in order to be eligible to vote. I put a rolling time period because once upon a time in the Blue Dream bylaws, we had written that you had to attend at least 2 meetings in the current year. Well, what if the meeting was in January? That seems stupid. So it's a little bit more of a burden on the club to track attendance, but especially if you're doing meetings via Zoom, the attendance already, because it's whoever is signing up for your Zoom meetings. For the most part, you may have couples that you allow to vote on a single Zoom login, but tracking attendance is really important for many reasons. Apply it to who is eligible in your club to vote. Because if people aren't regular members of your club, if they're not showing up on a regular time frame, they may not continue to show up on a regular time frame. So we highly recommend that you add attendance criteria, again, on a rolling time period, not current year, in order to determine voter eligibility. We also highly recommend that you include a wait period for new voters, for new members, in order to be able to vote in your club. So for example, after someone pays his dues in the Blue Dream Democratic Club, we wait 35 days. We have a 35-day wait period before they can vote. That allows us to stop people from realizing something is our agenda, joining our club in order to vote on it. Because again, we want people that are dedicated to our club. We want people that are long-term members of our club, not there for one vote and we never see again. And then this is kind of a less about club stacking, but more what to do when your club has been stacked to eliminate the problem of the South Bay Democratic Club. What, again, I'm just referring to my club. I know there's other creative solutions out there, but we have a ceiling for quorum. So that'll stop you from being unable to run a meeting if your vote is stacked. So for example, for the Blue Dream Democratic Club, our quorum is 25% of voting members or 10. So if the threshold of 10 members is reached, then the club can continue on their business, whether or not they've reached 25%. If the club has less than 40 members, then it is 25%. So if the club has, 30 members, then 25% would be 7.5. So we'll call that 8 members in order to proceed. So those are some suggestions I have around club stacking. Then we have a few people who raised their hand who'd like to contribute to this. So Anna, do you have any thoughts on this best practice?
Yes, we had to, excuse me, do that in our club because, so the way we changed our bylaws is to members who have attended at least 2, and we use the word prior meetings in the last 12 rolling months. Now, it's tricky counting who gets to vote when you have an endorsement. However, that prevents someone from joining last month's meeting and then being able to vote at this month's meeting on an endorsement. So we felt like that protective language kind of helped us. And of course, all of this comes from lessons learned, right? So
yes, I
do like your addition of 35 days, because that would say that, but I think ours covers that, where we didn't have to add that. So they had to have attended 2 prior meetings to the current meeting, which would make it at least 60 days prior. So
yes,
that I just wanted to reiterate how important it is to amend your bylaws to protect yourself, because it may not be an issue until it is. And we've gotten called on the carpet.
exactly.
And you don't want to get called on the carpet. It's not pretty. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Barbara?
We were told at least 4 years ago, if not more, that 30 days was a requirement in bylaws. They had to be members for at least 30 days because this issue came up back in, I believe, 2020. Is that not, if that's the case, if it was, we were told it was a requirement, then everybody should have at least that in their bylaws.
It's not a party requirement, but it is something that we recommend that you do as a club. And if you already have it in your bylaws, again, that's helpful. That 30 days may, in most cases, solve the problem. However, if you're doing like the 4th Tuesday of the month, it could be that 30 days is less than a month. So you could announce at one meeting that you're having a vote and people could sign up for the next one just because of the way the calendar falls. So yeah, that's what we have at 35. It kind of protects us from the rolling calendar issues. So
be a good idea to present this like we just did to fix it so that the county does require everyone to have a minimum?
I would say no, because clubs deal with this in their own ways, and certain clubs don't have these rules and don't feel they need it. And we need to give a certain amount of autonomy to clubs about what it means to be a member. So for example, Amira had said, we don't have dues, and that's okay. So, I'm not in favor of mandating what something should be, but we definitely, we want you to be healthy, happy clubs that are working towards your mission. So whatever that mission may be, whether it is a geographic or affinity mission. So, you know, yeah, the answer is different for different clubs as to how to do this, but I do highly recommend a wait period or attendance, and some clubs do both. So, Kate, what's your
Hi.
thoughts?
I just wanted to give a little bit input on quorum, because I think that we kind of were able to thread the needle. So the idea of like doing a percentage for quorum, I was in the South Bay Dems Club when it got shut down because they had the percentage as their quorum.
Yeah.
And when they went from 25 members to 50 members and their quorum was 25%, they were no longer able to get that many people in because they basically had like 8 people coming to meetings. So having a percentage, I think, is dangerous, but also having a number that has nothing to do with your e-board, I think, is also somewhat problematic. So with us, we had the discussion of, if we have 6 e-board members and our quorum is not 2 times the our quorum is 2 times the number of e-board members plus 1, so that there can never be a time where the e-board can come in and just outvote the rest of the association. We did that just so that we're always listening to the people of our club, and we can never outvote them as an e-board. So I recommend e-board times 2 plus 1 for quorum.
Okay. Dr. Banerjee?
So I think the quorum ceiling is a good idea. I think, to Kate's point, having the e-board be the numerical value that you use to get what is quorum is also a really good idea. I'm actually probably going to incorporate both of those into the API bylaws, or present that to the club. The one thing I will say, and this is just a bit of a sidebar here, exercise a bit of caution, and this is just a warning to all clubs when you have this, when you have a bunch of people join. Speaking of someone from a community that is typically othered and questioned has their loyalty questioned, both to the party and to the country, you don't want to push people out on that. So just exercise a little bit of caution on that. But again, I would echo everything that's said here.
And that's why this is a best practice. Every club has different considerations, about welcoming, and yeah, I appreciate the different points of view. So, Anna, you had something more to say?
Yes, just one more thing. I know I've been pesky today, but I just want to kind of hammer in why this is important. And the reason is because on a major election year, let's say there's a lot of candidates running. I mean, we would run up over like 100 members, but 12 of them would be campaign participants from the different, candidates. And then they just jump in for that and jump out, and we're not interested. As you stated, circling back in the beginning, they weren't really interested in local issues. So this is why you might want to tighten up your bylaws on this.
Okay, so that sounds great. Just one second. Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, great. So the next best practice we want to highlight is positive and productive club communications. So, we talked about a situation earlier with the notification that was very frustrating to many clubs. And I think it's important, and we need to have a little discussion about how we as club leaders bring issues to our club in a way that is positive and productive. Because, I'm going to bring up kind of a situation that happened in a club a few years ago. So this club was very excited. This club represented a district. It was the only club in this district. And they were very excited about a candidate. And they were so excited, they went to a regional central committee meeting as a club. And they said, hey, as representatives of this community, we would like this particular candidate to be endorsed. And multiple club members went. Again, they were very, very adamant. They were very excited. And one of the Central Committee members said to them in response, well, you only have 200 members. I ran on a public ballot and I got over 2,000 votes. So my vote represents the community more than your vote. Now, never mind that the Central Committee member, one, didn't live in the community. Number two, lost his Central Committee race. When the club members heard that, it was extremely disappointing to them, the ones that had shown up at that Central Committee meeting. And they went back to their club and they said, Central Committee doesn't think we matter. Central Committee doesn't think we have a voice. And the club president said it, members of the board said it, and it had a really negative impact on the attendance and enthusiasm of their club. Now, this particular Central Committee member clearly meant it. This particular Central Committee member was also, you know, not everyone and not smart. And to validate his thoughts was not their thoughts, was not productive, right? So that's just an example of drama that negatively influenced a club. And that drama can be internal and that drama can be external. And we've had, you know, we've seen some negative communications go out to clubs, to their members. And we just need to be very, very cautious about how our members process the negativity that they hear, because we want them to process it in a constructive manner. So what I heard, for example, when I heard about this problem, the Central Committee member that said, you know, really dismissive remarks to the members of this club was, prove them wrong. Go out there and prove that your voice does matter, that your candidate is the best candidate by your campaigning for him. Ignore them. You know, so what I'm bringing up here is that, again, those bullet points that I made, the negative communications, you know, that reflect internal drama or allege allegations or suppression of the will of club members, they discourage your club members' attendance and participations unless they're carefully phrased. So my tips are, do not overshare about internal turmoil in the club or the Democratic Party as a whole. Because firstly, most club members are not interested in participating in drama. Secondly, oversharing about the drama that you're experiencing at a higher level of leadership may depress their attendance. So when you do have to explain situations where there's drama and conflict, you know, my tips are, and I'm open to other people's tips as well, to be as objective as possible in your explanation and maintain a neutral tone. Offer possible positive solutions to the conflict whenever possible. So again, going back to this club and the Central Committee member that basically dismissed them, the solution is to say, well, let's show that guy, right? Let's show them what this club can do. It's not to say, oh, the Central Committee is dismissive of us. So, you know, there's been some frustration around the speed of these endorsement votes in multiple areas of the county lately. And it's led to some negative feelings in some cases. And we're just bringing this up because it's important to channel that in a productive manner and to not expose your club's member to that negative criticism, especially when it's unproductive, as much as possible. So how do you do that? Voice to your club your belief and their ability to make an impact. Impress upon them your confidence in their opinion and their abilities. So I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, open up the floor now. If anyone would like to comment on this, I know this is kind of a tough issue, but we thought it was worth bringing up. So any comments on this? So the ask to you as club leaders is to be positive in your communications wherever possible and be neutral in your club communications whenever possible. We know you experience situations of absolute frustration. And I want to go ahead and say, you know, I look at this as not my club, but my coalition of clubs. And when I am on the e-board fighting for this group, I am often frustrated. I am often feeling like I'm not able to be the advocate for you that I'd like to be. I've often get feedback from other e-board members that is frustrating. And it would be, you know, there's times when I want to vent, when I want to say, can you believe so and so said this? But I'm not going to come in this meeting and do that, because that would not be productive for any of you. So with that in mind, and hearing no other feedback on this, I'm going to move on to the next slide. So we also need to be very careful about communications in our communications to our club that disparage elected Democratic officials, because this could run a party afoul with party law. So the code of conduct says a member shall not disparage other members, the Democratic Party, Democratic candidates. Disparagement is defined as the publication of communication or false or injurious statements that are derogatory to the person or the person's family. The publication or communications of slurs, epithets, name-calling, threats, obscene gestures to or about Democratic candidates. So here's an example here, old school politician and their minions. That may have come in a communication to club members by a club. That's not okay. Now, I have no desire to get any clubs in trouble. I understand your frustration, but that's something that someone could report to the ethics committee. And again, I don't want you reported to the ethics committee. That said, there are very valid concerns that clubs have about policies of elected leaders and choices that elected leaders make regarding budgets, etc. So my suggestions here are criticized based on policy choice and votes. Always cite facts in your criticism. Avoid disparaging adjectives and accusations that cannot be proven in your club communications. So you may feel that something, you know, happened behind the scenes, unless you have really good evidence and newspaper articles to back it up. And then sometimes even then, it's better not to raise these things. But if there is a valid action that an elected official took or a candidate took that you can point to and say, this goes against our club's values or our party's values, I personally will defend that. And I want you to know I have defended that. I've seen people get upset when candidates or politicians are criticized on choices they made. For example, to vote against allowing drugs to prices to be negotiated. People have said, oh, let's not say that. That is a politician who theoretically, you know, could be in trouble. Go ahead and say it. It's the position of our party. Just be objective as you can when you're saying it. That's all we ask. Be objective in your statements. Say that this person voted against allowing drug price negotiation. That's a valid issue. This person voted against a budget that included parks. That's a valid issue. But we just need to be as objective as we can in our statements, mainly because I don't want any of you to run afoul of the party bylaws and wind up in front of the ethics committee, because that serves nothing. So Chiwu, your hand is raised.
Yes, quick question. I mean, during the election, is family member or candidate off limit? Because I was told a candidate and his supporters started attack his opponent's family member. So I'm concerned. I mean, is that violation of party ethics codes?
It absolutely is. And we've had, I don't know if you're referring to the same case I am. I don't think so. But we had an issue with a candidate this cycle where some negative remarks were made about their family member. And that is something that can and should be brought before the ethics committee. So please refrain from criticizing the family members of candidates. They are not running, you know, unless there is some valid connection to that candidate's race. So if a family member, for example, is the treasurer for a candidate and did something wrong and they're in their position as treasurer or their position as consultant to the candidate, then it is fair to raise that. But we want to refrain from making statements about family members that are not related to the political activity of the candidate in question. So
Yeah, in this case, the family member, the spouse, not even really involved in the candidate's election campaign at all. So I mean,
exactly.
opponent just start trying to find out everything about his family member and then spread the information to other clubs. So I'm very concerned.
Yes, yes. And just to bring up another valid case though, because again, we have to walk this line. There was criticisms that a spouse was paid, you know, a very large consulting fee from a campaign. That's a valid concern, right? That's okay. That a spouse had a failed business dealings, not related to campaign, not a valid concern. So we just need to be careful when we walk that line. So Dr. Banerjee? Dr. Banerjee, you're on mute.
Oh yeah, sorry, I just had to find the unmute button. Yeah, no, I would echo what you're saying here. I do think that, you know, as club leaders, we have to sometimes speak out. I mean, I run an affinity club that represents the API communities, and we've had issues where we've had candidates in our own party using racist tropes and flyers. I've had people attack myself and my family, both using racist tropes and, you know, bringing my wife's name into things. So I think we, as club leaders, we have to walk the walk, and we have to exemplify what good looks like. I don't think that there's a problem here, but my question is that if a candidate or if a member of that candidate's group does this to us and does this to our club, we too can go to the ethics committee, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay,
it's applicable for everyone. So,
I just want to make that
Banerjee.
clear. Okay, I just want to make that one clear because again, I've received threatening messages at 2 a.m. and using racial tropes. So it's not an abstraction here. I've had candidates lie about communications I've made to them to other clubs. So, you know, I have a thick skin. I don't mind, but you know, it's if we have to do ethics, we have to do ethics.
Yeah. So Paula?
Hi. Oh, am I unmuted?
Yes, you are. I can
Can
hear
you
you.
hear me? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. I just want to applaud you, Sonara, for bringing this up. And I feel like every organization of human beings, which is pretty much all of them, have issues with conflict, with communication, and with ethics. And rarely are these issues discussed. And I think it's very, very important that we do that. So thank you for bringing this up today.
Thank you. And I want to add, you know, none of us are perfect, right? And what we see is non-offensive, someone else could see as offensive. We're just asking you to try to do your best. I will say, you know, I'm certainly imperfect. Just to give an example, I asked a question of a candidate at the last meeting of one of the clubs I'm associated with, and the candidate took offense to that. I don't know. Some of the other club members said, "Thank you for bringing up this issue," but we're always walking a fine line, and you know, sometimes I don't have the tact I hope to have either. But we're asking you to do your best because it's in the best interest of your club and your club members to do your best. And I'm certainly trying. And again, as fallible as the next person.
Exactly the point. Right?
Okay.
We all are. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so on to the next issue. The special elections. We still have 2 special election races coming up very soon. They're going to be voted on November 7th. Oh my goodness, this is the final weeks. We're almost to GOTV. So Monica Montgomery Stepp, she needs people to go canvassing, to make phone banks. You can virtual phone bank at any time. Weekends are and evenings. And I've included in here a complete list of upcoming events. Tomorrow there'll be phone banking canvassing from Mental Bar. Monday in the afternoon with the UDW Hall. Tuesday at Montgomery Construction Company. Wednesday, Gem Coffee. So I think you get it. Almost every day of the week except Friday, there are activities happening. You can click to sign up. She has a link, a Google form where you can sign up to participate in any of these activities. And today at 2 p.m., there's a garden party fundraiser hosted by some of our wonderful club leaders. Multiple clubs are involved in this. The Black and African American Women Rise and the Women's Democratic Club for Monica Montgomery Steps. So please attend. Please attend the garden party fundraiser if you can. I cannot, but I will try to make the next event. Marco Verdugo also has his election on November 7th. He is our endorsed Democratic candidate for Chula Vista City Council. Ballots have already gone out. They are phone banking Tuesdays and Thursdays, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. in Chula Vista. This race is really hard because people aren't enthusiastic about it. People, you know, it's a special election and it's city attorney, but it's a major role in the city, and the city has some major projects coming up. So they need good guidance and leadership. So you can sign up to volunteer, and we'll let you know when his next fundraiser is coming up as well. So we have 2 hands raised. Yes? Michelle, your hand is raised?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that you have the contact information at Elisa's house. Do you have the link, or do you have the actual?
I do. Well, the address was produced upon RSVP. I wasn't saying whose house it was at, but it is being done by a member of our Black and African Women Rise thing. So there's a link and a QR code that people can use in order to reserve their ticket. So I hadn't publicly shared the address.
I'm actually here now, and Elise wanted to make sure that people knew where it was. That's all. I'm here
okay.
And I think that's it on Monica. Anybody who's able to walk their own precinct, if they have a specific precinct they want, just have them contact me directly, and I'll get that created so that they can walk where they're comfortable.
Okay, so do you want to give me Elisa's address if she's comfortable with that?
What I said is it's 2401 Kathleen Place. She just wanted them to know that it was at her home, and I didn't know if you had the RSVP, you know, available for people. That's all.
Yes, and I went ahead and put the address in the chat, if she's comfortable with that, for people to her home for this good, important fundraiser. So thank you for being there and doing that, Michelle. With that in mind, I'm going to double back to you because at the beginning of this call, before you were on, we were speaking about CADEM. So can you tell us about the pre-endorsement? You're having your pre-endorsement meeting tomorrow, but pre-endorsement ballots are due today. What does someone do if they do not?
No, that's not accurate. I'm happy to talk.
Help me out. Please talk.
So Region 22 ballots not actually due until 4 p.m. tomorrow. None of the ballots have to be in until the roll call vote for that region. Any of the 22 regions throughout California. Ballots are due just before the roll call vote begins. So if anyone's telling you anything different, that's not accurate. California Democratic Party rules state the ballots have to be received before the roll call vote begins. So for Region 22, which is on Zoom tomorrow, the link is, if you don't have it, it's on the San Diego Democratic Party calendar. Sonara made sure that it was there for Sunday, tomorrow, October 22nd, 4 p.m. Anybody is welcome to observe this. We are only doing 2 races, Assembly District 79 and Senate District 39. And the others of our assembly people and our congressional people were not challenged, so they are all appearing on consent. Again, that's CDP rules. So if people are in Region 21, which is Assembly District 75, 76, and 74 for San Diego, then they are having the regional meeting today at 4 o'clock. So ballots are due just before the roll call vote for that particular race.
That's why I thought it was today. Okay.
Yeah, so mine are not due until tomorrow. I'd love you to get them in. It makes my life simpler because I am harassing people who have not voted yet, just to make sure that they have, have the tools that they need, they got the link, that kind of thing. If you're choosing not to vote, that's fine. But if you let me know, the harassment will stop. Kind of like the faster you vote, the mail will stop. But anyway, so again, for Region 22, it's only those two races. Region 21 in our area has Assembly District 75, 76, and 74. And then I think there's one congressional race, but I don't believe it's in San Diego. Oh, it is. The Houlihan one is in San Diego. So anyway, if there's any specific questions, but the complication is that this ballot is a generic ballot. It's the exact same ballot throughout all of California for the Democratic Party. And basically, you need to get on the link, and the link is available if you don't even have the email. It's on the CADEM.org website under endorsements. It's an open link, so you would get on the ballot. You have a drop-down menu that says whether you are voting for Assembly, Senate, or Congress. You choose one of those, and then it'll give you the Assembly districts that are up, or Senate or congressional ones. You choose that one, and it will list the candidates. So you have to fill it out and then download it. Once you've downloaded it, it needs a wet signature. That's the reason for the download and printing. Then you need to take a picture of it and upload it. So if you're techie enough to do all that, it's less than a 5-minute process. If not, either the campaigns or, the regional directors, at least I've been helping people in our region find someone who is willing to actually, to help them. But that's what it takes. And I think people weren't prepared for that, because I know some people are trying to just do it last minute. So they do need to download it and read. If there's any other, than happy to answer them. And of course, I will throw in that the convention is happening in Sacramento, November 16th through the 19th. Are there any questions, Sonara?
Well, first, Michelle, I want everyone to know that I've put in the chat the link to the Zoom meeting for your Region 22 for your Region 22 meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m. I put that information in the chat. I also put the contact information in the chat for yourself and Deborah, if anyone would need to contact either one of you. I also sent to our Google group for the Council of Clubs the ballot and the information on how to vote. So yes, for the CDP endorsing convention, I wanted to just ask, I need a proxy. And when is my deadline to get a proxy?
Technically, the deadline isn't until the day of the convention, but the price goes up after October 24th. You can no longer do it online. So the person will have to stand in a much longer line, pay the registration fees, unless those are done beforehand. But anything online or beforehand has to be done by October 24th. But technically, someone can walk in with a proxy form signed and stand on a long line and get that done at the convention.
Okay, so if someone would like to be my proxy, please let me know sooner than later. If you'd like to go to this convention.
You want to be, Sonara, you need to be very clear. Proxies are very specifically designated. So in the case of Sonara, correct me if I'm wrong, it depends on how you got your delegate spot. So in her case, she got through our central committee. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
So therefore, the only people that are eligible to be her proxy is someone who is already a member of our central committee. So if there's a club president that is not the associate member for the club, they would not be eligible. So it's only people who are members of our subcommittee currently, because that list has already been turned in to the CDP, and is not a delegate in any other form. So other people are already delegates through being part of the ADEM process or having been appointed by one of our partisan electeds. So it's a very small pool of people who are actually eligible to take the proxy position. But I just want to make sure that people don't anticipate being able to just go up to Sacramento and have the, and be able to be someone's proxy. Please make sure, and I'm always available to confirm whether or not the person is eligible or not. But please make sure that that person is actually eligible to be your proxy.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Good to know. Anna, you have a question?
Yes, I actually had my hand raised with regard to Monica, but since Michelle jumped on, I did have a question for Michelle, or just to reiterate or confirm, because I did receive an email and it said that there was no pre-endorsement vote for my district, that for this weekend, that, like you said, they'd all been accepted, by acclamation. So I just want to double check and make sure that I don't have to seek out a ballot and vote for anything this weekend. I am an elected delegate by the Central Committee, so I will be attending at the convention in November. So I apologize, Sonora, but I cannot be your proxy. But just double checking with you, Michelle, that is in case the fact. So I don't something.
So Anna, to confirm for me, Assembly District, well, now Imperial Beach is under Assembly District 80. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah, so David Alvarez was not challenged, so he's on consent.
Correct.
And your senator is Steve Padilla, Senate District 18. That is not up for election this year. And your congressperson is Juan Vargas,
yes.
District 50, Congressional District 52, and he was not challenged. So the answer is you're free and clear. But you're welcome to watch the whole thing next
Thank you.
tomorrow at 4.
I always love the democratic process. Thank you. Second of all, I just wanted to let the clubs know that what we're doing here, we're not walking for Monica, and we're not able to attend like those collective phone banks where people meet up and go to a certain place, that you don't have to do that. If you reach out to either Michelle, I believe Aida Castaneda is working on her team.
Yes.
And she can provide you, like she did with us, a printed list that I passed out to my board, and we're all making calls this past week, and through the weekend. So you can do that as well. Every call makes a difference.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Anna.
No, that's what I was just saying. Every call makes a difference. Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I just want to add that you actually don't have to do it with a paper version. You can, but you can easily do it. All you have to do is let me know that you're interested in doing phoning at your convenience at home or wherever. And I can send you to your telephone or to your laptop on email or by text a link to a universal phone bank. Or we've even been creating it, like we have a Spanish speakers phone bank. If there's a specific area, I have an API one that Jack Chu asked for. So any of these, or if you specifically want to do, well, Imperial Beach is not in the district, but Lemon Grove, people wanted to do specifically Lemon Grove. So we created a phone bank specifically for Lemon Grove. So all of those are options to do it either with a paper version. And the same thing goes for precinct walking. You can get it as a paper version, or you can just get it on your telephone and keep track on that way. Thank you very much for highlighting that, Anna.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Michelle. So next on our agenda is upcoming endorsement considerations by the regional caucuses. I reached out to the regional caucus chairs to ask if any had upcoming endorsement considerations, and I didn't get any answers, so I didn't put anything in this presentation. However, I think I'm wrong because I believe that Kyle in North Coastal has said that they will in January be considering Oceanside District 4, Carlsbad District 3, I believe, and Oceanside City Treasurer, and there may be another race as well. So all the ones that were supposed to be considered in November have been moved to January. I believe that is correct. Anyone from North Coastal like to correct me on this, but it was the considerations that were originally planned for November have now been moved to January. Any North Coastal presidents can chime in. Chibu?
So it's Carlsbad District 2. Yes,
Thank you.
North Coastal area caucus decide to move to next year for their endorsement.
Okay, so it's not January per se, it's just next year.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about January and then, yeah, initially, actually, initially was March, then I think they were, there's an amendment to move to January. So our club decided to delay our endorsement to follow the lead of North Caucus.
Okay, thank you very much. So with that in mind, next on our agenda, I really quickly want to highlight running for Democratic Central Committee. I want you to encourage your club members to run for Democratic Party Central Committee. Why is that? Because if you have more club members elected to the Central Committee, your club will have greater representation in the party, right? Each club, well, always, each club gets one representative who votes for the will of their club. So whatever your vote decides to endorse someone, that representative comes to Central Committee and votes for that endorsement. But imagine if 5 or 6 club members that sat on Central Committee, and those club members were, again, supporting the mission of the club and the candidates of the club. Imagine the voice that you could have for your community. So please run for Democratic Central Committee. You can pick up your nomination papers from the Registrar of Voters and start collecting signatures for your Central Committee run now. It is already open. The final day to turn in the signatures is December 8th. You need 20 valid signatures to qualify. You can get up to 40 signatures. Get up to 40 signatures. Assume you're getting up to 40 signatures because inevitably people who sign make mistakes. They are not registered to vote. They're not registered to vote in your assembly district. They're not registered to vote as a Democrat. The valid signature is someone who is in your assembly district, is a Democrat, has completely written their complete address, has signed their signature in the same way that they sign when they registered to vote. And so, you know, you want to get 40 signatures to make sure you get 20 valid signatures. You can pick up your nomination papers today. You have to go in person to the Registrar of Voters, which is in Kearney Mesa. They're open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You will go to campaign services to get your nomination form. So if you have any questions, this information is in this agenda, and I will put it in the chat as well. We want you to run. If you have any questions about how to run for Central Committee, or you'd like me to speak to your club about Central Committee, please go ahead and email me at clubs@stdemocrats.org. Chi Wu, your hand is raised. Is this from last time, or is this a new one? Okay, Michelle, your hand is raised.
Yes, the Register of Voters actually is not open today when you said that you can go down today.
Oh, you're
so
right.
Monday,
You're right.
Monday to Friday,
that is
5.
correct.
And the only exception to that will be election day itself on November 7th. But yeah, take care of the business 8 to 5. I'm not going to say that they're going to give out papers, you know, when they're open specifically for election night.
Hey, thank you very much. Anna Webb just put in the chat that Chula Vista District 3 is coming up for endorsement in the South area. That is correct. For some reason, it wasn't on the timeline calendar, but it is coming up for endorsement in the South area on November 7th. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. It wasn't on the timeline that the party provided. So I'm going to tell Morel she needs to update that, because you are absolutely right. Chula Vista City Council District 3 will be voted on by the South Region Caucus on November 7th.
Yeah,
So I think most clubs
these become issues. These are the issues we've been discussing this whole meeting.
Yeah.
I had to find out on the back end that this was happening and give us just enough time to be able to hold this endorsement. So these are things we have to be vigilant about. And thank you so much, Sonara. I just wanted to double check I wasn't crazy that we have to run around and do this now, because if I could wait, I would wait.
No, you're absolutely right. And it was not on our endorsement timeline. So thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you.
Well, I'll get that added. Okay. Even though now at this point, it's nearly too late. So, okay. So any questions about running for Central Committee? Again, I will come and speak to your club. I want you to run. I want you to run a slate. I have a full presentation. Okay. Please run. Recommend a speaker. This is the last portion of our meeting. Does anyone have a speaker that recently spoke at their club they would like to recommend that other club leaders have a speaker? Any speaker recommendations for our clubs? Okay, I see none at those time. Other announcements. I know Kate Bishop had an announcement from the beginning of the meeting. Kate, are you still on?
I am indeed. Thank you so much. I'm standing today to support two different things. One is, as always, the San Diego Democratic Education Alliance would love everyone here and to recommend to your clubs to join our action alerts / adopt a district program. It is so important to defend our districts against attacks from the right wing, and everyone can do a little bit. And if everybody does a little bit, we can really push back and protect our kids. I sent to Sonara the link for that, to join that. If you have just a little bit of time, even to just post stuff on your social media, that helps too. But if you have more time, you can adopt a district and then let us know what's going in your district. If there's upcoming events that we need to create action alerts and get people to show up for. So I want to talk about that, but then also I want to promote our club is also doing our first school board candidates training on November 4th from 11 to 2 p.m. It's going to be on Zoom. And if you know anybody that is at all thinking about running, or if you think that you know somebody that would be great that, just doesn't know anything about what it's going to take to run for school board, please send them our way. It's a really,
Kate, I think we lost you.
Yes, you lost her. I'm cutting over to privacy mode.
School board issues, a lot of the stuff from the party doesn't really affect school board, so it can be kind of overwhelming. We talk specifically about what school board members are going to need, and it is so important that we get good Democrats to step up and run in these school board elections in this next year. This is the front line. This is where the attacks are coming, and we really need people that can get in the fight and that can protect our children. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm on for now, or you can reach out to me at demedalliance@gmail.com. Thank you.
Okay. And Kate, this link to sign up for so I put the link to sign up for your school board candidate training in the chat. You blinked out there for a second, so I just want to make sure everyone heard the school board candidate training will be November 4th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and the link is in the chat. Before I move on to Seth, I just want to circle back. Andrea Duran forgot to mention her presentation, wanted me to let you know that they are the Democratic Convention. So if you don't want to pay the fee and you want to participate and you want to be a part of it, please volunteer. I put the information to volunteer in the chat. That is for the Democratic Convention. And Greg, yes, I put the information in the chat as well for your announcement earlier, which was the save the date for November 5th for the UAI workers' strike. The panel on the UAI workers' strike and its historical significance, that'll be on November 5th, and the Zoom is at 2 p.m. I believe that is what you had put, you had spoken about earlier, and I put that in the chat as well. So I think I did, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I need to put it in again. So Seth, you're welcome to go next.
Yes, thank you. Is this an appropriate time for a candidate announcement as well?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Seth Smith, and I'm running for Lemon Grove City Council. I graduated cum laude from the New School of Architecture and Design, and I've been working in the field of architecture and design for 9 years. I'm currently the Lemon Grove Planning Commission chairperson. I have been on the Lemon Grove Planning Commission for 5 years. And I'm running for Lemon Grove City Council because I believe that housing is a human right. And I would like to use my background in architecture and urban design to help craft policies that are going to bring attainable housing to families in Lemon Grove. And I want to support pathways for our unsheltered neighbors to also find housing in that position. But just building housing isn't going to be enough to solve either homelessness or our economic or environmental crises. We need to make sure that the homes that we're building meet our environmental goals, and that we're crafting policies that allow our housing to do such. And I also want to run for city council because, as we see, as many cities have issues with our maintenance in our utility structures, our sewers, and our roads, and we need to make sure that those issues are getting addressed. We need to make sure they're getting addressed using project labor agreements to make sure that the people addressing those issues are treated well and they're getting the job done right the first time. So, and I really believe in a Lemon Grove where we can work together to get those things done. Now, once again, my name is Seth Smith, and I'm running for Lemon Grove City Council. And I very much hope to have your support in this race on November of 2024. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other announcements? Dr. Banerjee?
Hi, yeah, just a quick one. So right now across the country, we're seeing an uptick in alien land laws. If you don't know what those are, these are laws that are barring certain groups, in this case, Asian Americans or Asian immigrants, from buying land. This is happening in Florida. This is happening in Texas. We're seeing an uptick in hate directed at people who are darker skinned, who present South Asian, etc. So just be mindful of that. We are going to be, as soon as I get back from this trip, I'll be drafting a resolution to the party condemning alien land laws. If anybody wants to sign on to that, please reach out. Again, this is something that happened here in this state in 1913. It leads to things like internment. It leads to things like people having their nationality loyalty questioned. We cannot let this happen again. Again, thank you. Just reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat.
Okay, great. Dr. Banerjee, the Level Democratic Club, I'm pretty sure will be interested in signing to that.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Imperial Beach.
Yeah, well, I can't necessarily speak for the club, but I will certainly, bring it up to them. We had a similar thing in Escondido where they tried to ban people who are undocumented from renting. And, that's something that really affected the Latino community. So I can't see how they wouldn't be interested. And okay. Chiwu?
Andrew, my friend, I will ask my club to sign. If this, I will sign too, of course.
You're on my list of people to call, Chiwu. Come on.
You don't have to call me anymore. My friend, I don't have to call me anymore.
Appreciate y'all. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Anything else before we adjourn? Okay. Seeing that, new business, we're continuing the discussion on sexual harassment policies on the vote on that until next meeting. Hearing no other announcements, we will adjourn. Thank you everyone for being here. I appreciate seeing you.
No, just
okay.
If everyone can put in a couple of hours to help Monica.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good rest of your Saturday.
Thanks, Sonara.